Welcome to part 2. Let's get moving. So let's go ahead and shell out our Lego so that it can connect with other Legos. This is a pretty easy step to do. All you need to do is go to the option here called Shell, which I'm sure many of you are familiar with. Click on that, and then you want to select the side like I did. So I clicked on the bottom of my Lego piece, and it created it hollowed it out, is a good way of saying it. And based on this number here is essentially the thickness of that shell. So in our case, I measured this out to be 0.05 inches. So I'm going to click OK. I don't care about that, and it should have shelled out the Lego, as you can see. Now let's go ahead and add some pegs to the top part of the Lego. I'm going to create a 2D sketch right over here, and I'm going to draw out a peg, which is just a circle. The peg is going to have a diameter of 0.2 inches. And yes, sometimes it does move, so you have to bring it back. And then we're going to dimension it from the walls to the center to be, let's say, 0.156 is, I believe, what I measured it out to be. So something like that. It's looking lovely, so let's finish that and extrude out the circle. I measured this out to be, I believe, 0.075 inches, like so. And there is also a fillet, and we do that by going to fillet, and I'm going to click on the edge of the circle, and clearly it's too much this right now. I can see by this little error sign over here, but we don't want 0.125, we want 0.002 inches. Just a very, very small. If I zoom in, you can kind of see the roundness of those edges. That's what the fillet tool does, if I haven't shown you that already. And it's looking pretty good at this point. Now, for this project, we have to do a little something else in the parameters. We need to essentially comment on what each of these things are. Because oftentimes in engineering, you start a project, but then you might not finish the project. Another team might finish the project, or something might happen. And you don't want to be in a situation, or you don't want your company to be in a situation where they open up this file, they take a look at it, and they have no idea what is what, or how to fix something. So that's where these comments come in. Located over here, these comments are where you can put like a note of what it is. So like D0, that is the, let's say, the length of the part. This was the, let's say, width of the part. This was the height of the part. And then I could write for this, X controls the length, controls the width, controls the height. Just like that. If you see anything with 0.0 degrees, those aren't really anything. It's just something the program puts around corners, so you can ignore these. But like something like this, the 0.05. Let's say I forgot what that 0.05 was. Like, what was it? Something you could do is you can hover over it, and it can sometimes tell you, like it's saying this is the shell, is consumed by shell 1. So I know this is that shell that we put on the bottom of the Lego, so I could just say shell of Lego or something, shell of bottom Lego. This is some quick note so that someone else could easily follow your work. This 0.2, I'm not quite sure what it was, so what I could do is I can change this number. Let me change it from 0.2 to 0.4, click away, and boom. I noticed right away that this changed over here, so that's the diameter of the peg. I'm going to go ahead and change that back to 0.2, and I'm going to say diameter of peg. The 0.15, this had to do with location of peg. as well as this one. This 0.075 was the extrusion of the peg, I remember. And this was the fillet of the peg. So several times in this video I'm going to tell you to pause and open up the parameters, and what I want you to do is I want you to label every new parameter that's been added. Like I said, for a project like this, it's not hugely important, but with more intricate parts where you may not be finishing the project, it's very important to label things. We do it in this, we do it in a lot of other things. If you ever take a programming class, we always comment in those. Okay, so we have one peg on our Lego. That's a good start, but a 2x6 Lego piece is going to have 12 pegs. And one way that we could do it is we could draw out every single peg, but that's pretty time consuming. But we do know we have the power of parameters, and we also have some other cool things that we can do to essentially, sorry, I just like spinning this around, to get all these pegs to pop up really quickly and then to generate themselves whenever we change the piece. So if the piece changes, the number of pegs will change. So to start that off, I'm going to head over to the 3D model section, and then I'm going to go over to the pattern section over here and rectangular, since I want to essentially create a rectangular pattern for this Lego. I'm going to select that, and rectangular pattern works by first selecting the features that you want to pattern. So in this case, I want to pattern the extrusion, and I want to pattern the fillet that I applied. Once I have those selected, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to direction 1. I'm going to click on that arrow, and I need to select the direction where this peg is going to be patterning itself. So let's do the long ways first. I need to find an edge like this, and I'm going to click on that edge. Now you'll notice right away, for me, it's not going the right way. It's generating a peg, but it's generating a peg on the wrong side. So to flip that around, go to this arrow option, which is called flip, and click it. And it's going to flip the peg onto the area where it needs to be. So we have two numbers we need to consider when patterning something. The first is this one. This is the number of objects that we're going to be patterning. So right now we're only patterning 2, but if I wanted to do 3, I'd change the number, and I'd have 3, or 4, so on and so forth. And the other one is this. This is spacing. So if I did a spacing of 1, this is 1 inch, exactly 1 inch apart from the original. If I made the spacing a ½ inch, of course it's going to be closer to the original. So if you remember what I said earlier, the length of the 2x6 Lego is 1.875 inches. So if this is a 2x6 and I want the 6 to be spaced evenly apart from one another, I would do 1.875 divided by 6, and that's going to give me a spacing of 0.3125. So I'm going to set this spacing to 0.3125, and now the pegs are in the correct location. In terms of the amount of pegs I need, I can change this number to 6. And you'll notice that it looks good right away. We have 6 pegs over there. The only problem is, if this part changes, because it's a super Lego, the number will always remain 6. And that's not really functional, at least for not what we're doing, or what we hope to do with this. So instead of saying 6, why don't we just say X? Because X right now is 6, because this is a 2x6 Lego. We control it in the parameters. So if we just say this is X, since X is 6 right now, it's going to automatically generate 6 pegs. Cool. Let's go over to direction 2. I'm going to click on this arrow this time, and I'm going to select a different direction, I'm going to select this edge, let's say. Click on that. It looks like it's going in the correct direction. The spacing is just a little too much, so I'm going to adjust the spacing to 0.3125. And then for the amount we have, instead of writing 2, which looks fine, I'm going to write y, because y right now is 2. I'm going to go ahead, click OK, and using that pattern tool, you'll see that it generated the complete lovely Lego part. Yay. And you know what? I'm going to head over to the Manage tab, go to my parameters, and you're going to notice that X is there now, and that's one of our pattern ones, remember? And there's Y, and you can see what Y is equal to and what X is equal to. So everything works out pretty nicely. So I'm going to do these comments for you, and then these are the last ones I'm going to do. Then I'm going to remind you, but I'm going to have you just do those on yourself. Yes. Oh, and you will be turning this in, so don't say like, oh, I could just leave it blank, whatever. X is the number of pegs lengthwise, let's say. Lengthwise. This is the distance between pegs. Y is the number of pegs width-wise, and this is the distance between pegs as well. So as long as you're doing this consistently, it's really not difficult to just keep track of them. If you wait too long or you wait till the end of the project, sometimes you might forget completely what they are, and then it might be a little more difficult to comment them. Anyway, that concludes the second part. I will see you in the third.
Say bandit!